Well, the last 5 months have been quite eye-opening. Lots of self-exploration and healing and stuff like that. And I finally realized who I had been dealing with in my last relationship. So I got with this person, and she does strongman competitions, so she can deadlift like 305 pounds. And that's working out weight to her max, 1 rep max, probably higher. She did 4 years of Muay Thai, or so she says, She's 6 years as a dominatrix, or so she says. And after one of her competitions, I clapped her on the back as like a congratulatory thing. She whirled around, said, "Bro, I'm not into impact. I told you I'm not into impact play." And of course, I thought she was giving me crap for it, and made a snarky comment about some shirts that I'd helped her design, because she had mentioned those in her thanking everyone for the work they'd done for that competition that she'd put on, which was petty. And I knew it, and I heard it, and I tried to, soften that and, tell her I was actually really proud of her, and, in all seriousness, this was an awesome thing that she did. I ended up leaving, and I shouldn't have. I've got 6 years as a counselor, and I could tell from her body language that she was exhausted from the day and worn out, and, wasn't ready to really people with a partner. So I left, and I texted her and told her to, enjoy her time, have a good time with her friends. Let's talk in a couple days. Well, she went into full-on narcissistic rage. Full on. Now, I did not realize this at the time, what exactly was going on. I thought that she was having a trauma response from past abuse, which very well could have been part of it. Absolutely. Because she had not been open and upfront about the types of abuse that she had dealt with, and she had dismissed it because, especially with, she told me that one of the guys she was with her against the wall, but the way she told it, it sounded like it happened while they were doing Muay Thai training, and she brushed it off as, "I'm a big girl, it wasn't a big deal." So, I wasn't even thinking along the lines of physical violence, like abuse like that. And she had wanted to spar with me like a week or two prior, so I wasn't even thinking that a clap on the back would be considered like violent or triggering or anything like that. And it wasn't even that hard. Like, I don't know if any one of you have gone to any bodybuilding competitions or anything, but when you set a personal record, there is a tradition, and I've seen it, where they come up and they'll take both their hands and they'll slam you on the back as hard as they possibly can, right? This is a tradition. I'm assuming she's had this done to her before, so, like I said, didn't even register in my mind. I thought she was mad about the snarky comment. She was mad about getting embarrassed in front of her friends, because when I did that, she felt embarrassed, which is on her. It's nothing to feel embarrassed about. It's ridiculous. Most of her friends probably didn't even hear what happened. They definitely heard the clap on the back, but that was it, and saw her reaction, and, anyways. So I gave her the space she said she needed, and then I went back on the Field app, because we had this agreement where she said that she was 2 days away from deleting the app when she had found and matched me. So I guess I assumed, which I shouldn't have, I assumed that she had deleted the app. I kept my app open just to show her that I wasn't screwing around on her, so I had like 130 days without being on the app. So I wanted to be transparent about that as much as I could. And so anyways, I gave her the space she needed. Yeah, it was driving me out of my head, because once I saw that, I went and screen capped a video, and I sent it to, I want to say, like 4 of the people that I thought were her friends. Apparently, at least one of them was not one of her friends, but she acted like she was. I don't think she has any real friends, like true friends, because I think she's a total narcissist, and narcissists don't really have actual friends. Because sooner or later, those people will figure it out. Which is sad. It's a miserable way to live your life. But she's doing this. And this is on her. So yeah, I did that, and because I was desperate for answers, I was losing my mind. I couldn't, I was afraid that little incident, which was relatively dumb as crap, was enough for her to break up with me. And I was in deep with this girl. I loved her. Like, I could have seen the rest of my time with her. I was not in this for sex. I was in this for a relationship. And I was very upfront with her on that. Very upfront with my field profile that I was looking for a life partner, someone to share my life with. So she broke up with me over email, and it was really damaging. I was like, what the fuck? She cut off all communication. She gave me the entire silent treatment. And the messed up part was there was maybe a week or two later or so, I was at I went to a friend's birthday party, and I'd had some drinks, and I shouldn't have. I try not to drink too much. But I had more than I should have. And my brain literally forgot that we had broken up, and I sent her, like, I saw these two girls that were, being stereotypical and everything, and I thought it was funny. So I took a photo, sent it to her, and be like, hey, because we had joked, like, hey, if you ever need me in the back of the head, like, probably a really dark joke, but that was kind of her humor, which, holy red flag, I guess, looking back at that. I was like, now would be a good time for you to do that to me. So, because I wanted to get out of that party. But anyways, I realized the next day, oh, crap. This isn't good. This is not healthy. This is harmful to her for me to do this. So I cut off, I deleted all of her photos. I deleted all of her videos. I deleted all of her, I deleted my Instagram account. I deleted everything of her. I packed up all her stuff that she left my place that she had told me to just throw out, but I'm not an asshole that throws out someone's stuff if they break up with me or if I break up with them. So I loaded it all in the car because it was, pillow, toys, coffee maker, some other stuff. But anyways, load them all up and, drop them at her house. And I passed her on the way there and we caught eyes, and she looked pretty hurt. So again, I was thinking, this sucks. So I just dropped it on the door, knocked twice because I assumed her roommate would be there and grab the bag so it wouldn't be sitting on the porch, and bounced. And then from there, I didn't really contact her for a while. There was a couple times that I gotta admit, I was going out of my head. I couldn't sleep for weeks. I was having to self-medicate to sleep. It was not healthy. It was not good. This was driving me crazy. I just couldn't figure out what the heck happened. How did things go from being so good to just gone, like crazy? So it's ridiculous, because I understand that real relationships are, you got to be willing to work through hardship because people do make mistakes, and that's the thing. Sure, I was in a very, very vulnerable place after the death of my partner. And I did a few things, like, for example, I was at another party, and she had texted me that I miss you, and I texted her back, I'm on my way. And I drove the 30 miles or whatever to her house and showed up at her door, and she answered it. She was like, bro, you don't have to, I'm not one of those women, you don't have to read between the lines. Like, when I tell you I miss you, you don't have to come see me. I was like, okay, that's good to know. I was like, to be honest with you, this is weird for me too. I would have never done this before. Like, I'm in this vulnerable place right now, and, I'm reconnecting with my emotions after suppressing them for all this time. And, so I won't do it again. And I didn't. I never did that again. So anyways, yeah, there was a couple times where I got drunk and I accidentally it was on purpose. I'm not going to lie. That was my drunk brain, being, like, kind of trying to explain what the heck was going on with me, and trying to appeal to, her sense of logic and empathy, which she has no empathy. That became very clear to me this past day. So, but then after that, it was very good about not communicating. I gave her the space she needed. She never responded to anything. So I was like, I got to get in therapy. I was like, I have to get into therapy. This is not healthy. I was like, because I had already gotten with another woman who had approached me, and we knew each other for a little while. And she's a beautiful soul and an amazing person. And yes, we do have some incompatibilities that are mutual that we're working through. And I hope that we can resolve those and move forward with a healthy life. But either way, I want her in my life no matter what, because physical stuff isn't everything. It's a huge foundation, obviously, but it's not everything. And plus, we're both ethically non-monogamous, so we're both, we've discussed the possibility of bringing another partner for each of us into it and just having like a close group of 4 or something like that. But that's, we're just leaving our options open. Let's put it that way. Just leaving our options open, enjoying the journey. It's great. She's awesome. She has been a saint through all of this because I have talked with her repeatedly. about the last relationship, which is not fair to her. And I had to get it out. So like I said, got into therapy, doing EMDR therapy now, which is pretty darn effective. I would recommend it. I never used that with my clients before, and I knew about it, but not a lot about it, but it's really effective. At least it's being effective for me. So I finally, I was doing a free association where I should have been handwriting it, so I wouldn't have typed it. So I recommend if you do free association, handwrite it so you won't do what I did. It turned into an email to my last partner, and it was the first time that I explained to her exactly what she did, how she made me feel through all of this. And she actually responded, which is the first time in like 5 or 6 months. And her immediate response was all about her. It was an activated response, and it had no sign of empathy for what I was going through. None whatsoever. And her first question was, what about that video you sent to my friends? That's what it was about. And I was like, look, I know this was difficult for both of us. I was like, I was losing my mind. I was like, I was desperate for answers. I hoped that your friends would have some perspectives and like tell me, okay, this might be what's going on, and you're not just out there trying to replace me. You know, that's what it seemed like. So I asked her, I was like, would you be willing to meet with my therapist as a professional mediator so I can move forward from this? You know, and in the email, I was very careful not to try to get back with her because I don't want to get back with her because I was concerned for her, and I wanted to make sure that she would be okay and be able to move forward in her life, because she did admit over an email that she knew she was going to be alone and die a spinster, which is, I didn't think she deserved that. So, because I did love and care about her. That love is fastly fading now, after the other day. So I talked to my therapist about it. My therapist was like, Dan, she's like, I've read her emails. She's like, this is all about abuse, power, and control. And she was like, I think it's going to be harmful for you if you meet with her. And I was like, look, I'm a big person. I can handle it. I can take it. I was like, if she does end up being like showing me that she's a total narcissist, like I will have to deal with that. I was like, but at least I'll have some form of closure, right? So the therapist was like, all right. So we did a couple of EMDR sessions, and I was able to let some stuff go because I had so much self-blame over what I thought I had done and all this stuff. And, you know, I objectively didn't. Yeah, I was in denial about her for a long time. I, you know, chalked it up to trauma and the fact that she had adopted narcissistic traits to protect herself from other narcissists. And so, you know, she had shown signs of willingness for personal growth and all that stuff. So I hoped against hope that, you know, if anyone could get over that narcissism, she could, right? No, I think she's an actual narcissist. So I don't know when she adopted those traits. Maybe she had a bad childhood or something. Who knows? But she is, as far as I can tell, like a classic narcissist. And possibly even going so far as to say narcissistic personality disorder, which, that's, like I said, it's a miserable way to live your life. Miserable. You're constantly terrified of the world because you're afraid that people are going to reject you when they see who you truly are. And I'm like, and the worst part is that she's got really nothing to be insecure about. She used to be a fat girl and she lost a bunch of weight and she's made something of herself. She's only got a 10th grade education, but she, you know, figured out a niche in life. She's you know, she does hair extensions. She owns the building that she's working out of, or at least she told me she did. You know, like, she figured it out. And I was really, really proud of her for how far she'd come. And I was proud to be with her. You know, I was proud to call her my partner. So I will say it was a little cathartic. So I hadn't gone on her social media pages because I just didn't want to do that. That would just torture myself. And, but my partner apparently got on there because she wanted to know her name. So I told her. So she got on Facebook and she was like, Dan, she was like, every single post she posts for public is all about her and how awesome she is trying to be. And like, she's like, it's all about her. And she was like, and I'm way prettier than her. And I was like, well, I don't compare partners' physical attributes. Like, I don't do that. I think that's the most shallow and a-hole thing you could do. But I was like, objectively, yes, you are prettier. So, yeah, but, which I kind of felt like a douche for saying, but it's just objectively true. So, just is what it is. But, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I had to realize that this is all on her. This is all about her. It's not about me. Because part of me wants to like her to feel the pain that I felt, right? But narcissists don't. They'll never get it. They'll never empathize. They will never understand what they did. They are so wrapped up in their own narratives that it's impossible for them to do it. And that's the thing. She's got this whole story concocted in her head, guaranteed. She brilliantly demonized me to her friends. I mean, she used all the tools of social media to do that, and veiled accusations, subtle things. It got physical. She put on one post. So like I saw all those when I got back on the Field app, because I'd gotten off of Instagram, and I went through and looked at her posts, and I was just, holy crap. Like her face, I'll never forget her face. Just the most angry, like bitter, narcissistic face I've ever seen in my life. And, I didn't see it for what it is. I thought it was hurt, or annoyance. I thought it was more annoyance than anything else. Well, it was. It was. Because she felt embarrassed. So, and yeah, I mean, she... the first thing she would have to do is tell all of her friends that she's a narcissist and that she's trying to change, and that they need to call her out if she shows any of those signs. And then she needs to get into therapy, because she, like I said, she said she's in therapy, but both my therapist and I agreed it's very likely she's completely lying about that, because no therapist worth her salt would say to cut off contact with someone that you love. You work through hardship, you work through things, you don't cut off contact. It's not like I beat her. In that case, yeah, absolutely. If someone, physically abuses you or emotionally abuses you, yeah, you need to cut off contact to protect yourself sometimes. And I get that. But in this case, it was completely uncalled for, completely overblown, completely overhyped. And she's so hypervigilant that she sees red flags that aren't even there. So her own reality is so skewed. It is insane. And unfortunately, she's got her housemate roped into that as well. So, just is what it is. Hopefully he will at some point realize who he's living with and bounce, because, unless he's one of those people too, which I don't know. They do tend to attract people like that. So you never know. That might be the case. They might both be that way. But like I said, what a miserable existence. Just crazy. But, I will say that I feel a whole lot lighter. I feel a whole lot freer. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel now. I don't know how long it's going to take me to get there, but hopefully it'll be quickly. But, the rumination and all that stuff on this stuff is dissipating quickly, which is great. And, yeah, it's good. Like last night I slept fairly well, and I woke up early and I felt good. So I finally felt good in my soul, and there's still pain there. There's, I'll probably always have love for her in my heart, for the person, but it's love for the person I thought she was. It's not love for the person that she is. So, yeah, and I know that. I just have to internalize it, and that's the hard part. So, but yeah, anyone who's been through this, I definitely feel for you at this point. It's really damaging. I will say therapy helps a lot. EMDR therapy helps a lot. To let this stuff go, to let go of your self-blame, and, the gaslighting and what that person made you believe that you might be, really, really damaging. So, but yeah, I sent her a final email, and, cause I was at a festival, Reggae Rise Up, and I was maybe 20 feet from the stage, 20 feet from the stage, and they were throwing around a beach ball, and it was behind me, and it hit me in the back of the head, which is fine. It's a giant inflatable beach ball. And I heard this like gleeful giggle, like, and I knew exactly who it was. I know her voice. I instantly froze up. I was going through definitely fight, flight, or freeze modes again. And I wanted to either run or scream at her, and tell her what she did to me, and like, how dare she like put herself on this pedestal that she doesn't even belong on. And she's not even that good of a person. Like, she's just not. And that's the other thing too. I had to realize that all of the positive attributes that I saw in her are all negated by the narcissism, all of them. And that's the other thing that people have to understand, is that a lot of these people are, and thank God there's not a lot of them out there. There's only like 2% of the population, but there are narcissistic people out there, but actual narcissists, there's not a whole lot. I want to say 2% of the population. But anyways, I had to realize that again, all of the, and anyone going through this has to realize all the positive attributes that you see in someone, all of the things that you think you see in them, or you see the potential to be. Yes, those are there. They have the potential to be a good person, but they won't be. It's totally negated by their narcissism. You can't do anything about it. And the best thing you can do is pity these people, because narcissists are made, they're not born. So something at some point in their life, or an accumulation of things, turned them into who they are. And, but at the same time, they're an adult, they're a grown up, they can take personal accountability for their actions, and they can try to move forward in a healthy way. And, if they're not willing to do that, which most of them will never be willing to do that, you gotta let them go. Cut them off. Let them go. I sent her a final email. Yeah, so I'd sent her that email right there at the concert, and just laid that out. I told her she's pushed a good man who would have done almost anything for her away. And, at this moment, right now, I said a lot of things. And so when I was able to feel angry about what she did, I did some free association, and I wrote down exactly how I really felt with that anger. I sat with that anger, and I let myself feel it because I needed to. And it's a lot of really hurtful stuff that I wrote. And obviously I would never send that to her because it's self-serving and it won't do any good anyway. And so she responded back with, "Oh, I'm still willing to basically meet with your counselor and you to quote unquote clear the air." There is no clearing of the air, sweetheart. You're a narcissist. That is what it is. You've proven that today, or the other day. So it is what it is. And I talked to my therapist. I was like, I really want to respond to her, but I have to defer to your judgment on this, because I cannot trust my judgment on this right now. And my therapist was like, Dan, which Emily at the McNulty Center, she's excellent, very excellent in St. Pete. She's very good. She will challenge you. She's not going to just take your side on everything if what you're saying is, might be correct. And from what I can tell, she definitely knows what she's doing. She's solid, and she works with ethically non-monogamous relationships and stuff like that. So that was hard for me to find. I private pay for that because I couldn't find someone in my network that had that level of different things. So I did shop around and find a good counselor, because I needed, or a good therapist, because I need someone that challenges me. Otherwise I'm going to run roughshod over him and not even know it. I know that about myself. I have a strong personality. So in this last relationship, I gave up all my power and control to her. So anyways, my therapist, she said, Dan, she's like, she can wait forever. She's like, I highly recommend you never contact her again. I highly recommend you block her on social media, Facebook and all that stuff, which I did yesterday. She's blocked. And she's like, I would never, ever reach out to her again. She's like, these people are all about manipulation, power, and control, and she's not going to change. It's like, she will never change. She will be this person until she dies. So really, really, really sad. Really sad. But, like I said, the partner I have now, she's amazing. She's someone I want in my life for the rest of my life, and I am fully committed to her. And, like I said, we do have some compatibility issues that we're working through, and I'm not sure if we're going to be able to resolve all those, but we're both open to potentially having another or other partners at some point, and maybe all four of us living in one house. Who knows? Basically, at the end of the day, we're just keeping our options open and enjoying the journey and enjoying each other for who we are. And because we did have concerns, we were kind of concerned if we were trauma bonding, because we did get together once she heard that my ex had broken up with me. She reached out immediately and was like, "Hey, want to make out?" I was like, "LOL, sure." But anyways, I think with the incompatibility thing, I think that really helped. It kept at least me from trauma bonding, which is good, because for that, that's a big part of that for me. So that was good. And then, she was worried if she was the rebound. And I was like, no. I was like, if I thought you were going to be a rebound, I wouldn't have gotten with you, because I know that you're a good person. So, it's good. Life is good. Yeah. I mean, at one point I was like, maybe I'm the narcissist. I was like, maybe I'm the one that's being the narcissistic person here and projecting on her that she is. Objectively, I'm not. And my therapist had to tell me that, because I was concerned about that. Yeah, I mean, one of the things she said in her email that was all about her was, what about that video, that screen cap video? And I was like, look, I know this is difficult for both of us. I was like, I literally was out of my mind. I was grasping at straws. I thought that maybe that incident was enough for you to break up with me. And I was like, I reached out and I sent it to, I think, like 4 of her friends, because I wanted their perspective on it. And, I was desperate for them to come back and be like, dude, she's not like that. Like, this is something else, she can't be that person. And of course, none of them said that, because I think they all knew. I really do think they all knew. So I do also sometimes forget that not everyone is as logical as I am. So, they probably thought I was just attacking her or whatever, which, whatever. I can't change how people perceive that stuff. So, yeah, she also talked about how, she couldn't trust someone that crossed so many boundaries. And I'm like, honey, you don't even know what boundaries are. I was like, boundaries are things that you set for yourself. The second you say my boundary is that you don't, it's not a boundary. Okay. An agreement is made between two people. We will or will not do X, Y, Z in certain circumstances. That is an agreement. All right. Agreements and boundaries are renegotiable. You can renegotiate your boundary with yourself. You can renegotiate an agreement with your partner. You want to really avoid rules, because rules can be really problematic. You don't want to go there if you can help it. And because rules can't be renegotiated, they're set in stone. That's the point of a rule. So agreements and boundaries are healthy things in a relationship, any relationship, but especially in a non-monogamous relationship. Definitely you got to have them. Well, she also said that, the fact that I, quote, talked about her sex life to a video in her friends. I recorded like an hour and 12-minute long video when all this went down, because one of her friends was like, dude, I heard it got physical. And I was like, holy crap. I was like, no, it did not. I was like, and I should have just been like, not at all. But I was like, not really. That was way overblown. And I should have just completely denied it right there. But hindsight's 2020. But yeah, I sent him an hour and 12-minute video, and I went from the death of my partner to what I went through, why I decided to get back out there again, which I got out there way too soon. I knew it, but I did it anyway. What her and I's relationship, that my ex's relationship and I's were like. And I talked about the bare minimum when it came to sexual stuff. I talk about sex a lot because I don't have any hangups over it. I don't have any insecurities about it, but sometimes I forget that a lot of people do. So I have to be careful with that. That's, something. But anyways, yeah, I talked about the bare minimum just to not only try to defend myself from her veiled accusations, but also, and more importantly to me, especially at the time, was I needed them to understand what kind of person she is, and that she needed help because of her trauma, and that she needs true support and not just hype men, quote unquote, to back her up her every saying and, just do that. I'm like, she really needs help. like truly needs help. And, YouTube obviously has the counters. You can see who watched it, how long, and all that stuff. And no one watched the whole thing. She said she did, she didn't. Someone made it through about 45 minutes of it, and I totally buried the lead because I was just literally couldn't keep my thoughts together. So I totally buried the lead on the fact that she needed help. That didn't come until, later on. But that was the logical conclusion of the entire event, or all the events leading up to, the breakup. And, so you can explain yourself all you want. You're never going to change their mind. They're never going to empathize with you. They're never going to see your side of things. They're going to play the victim. They're going to always be the victim. And it's, like I said, it's a terrible way to live. It's a miserable way to live. She's not a happy person. You wouldn't know it by looking at her photos, though. But she's got deep depression issues, deep insecurities, and all that stems from this. So, oh well. It's not my problem. I'm not a therapist. I can't help her. So, and she wouldn't want my help anyway. So, I'm done. I'm just done. I have to be done. I definitely will not make that mistake of getting with a person like that again. For sure. For sure. Because no. Just no. To coin a phrase from her, no. Anyways, have a great day.